Yeah, welcome to JavaPro. Our guest today is Carlos Barragan. Carlos, maybe you can introduce yourself briefly to get
Yeah,
started.
of course. Thank you very much. I enjoyed a lot on JCON. Was a great conference overall. Great talks. Thank you again very much for having me. My name is Carlos Barragan. I worked at a small company, mid-sized company called Novatec, as you can see in the background, in Stuttgart. And I work as a distinguished software engineer. And since I think 2006, I work here in different projects with different companies, with different customers. We do a lot of consulting. We help a lot of customers with their software projects and also agile topics, machine learning stuff. And yeah, some of the customers, well, the typical, I don't know, big customers like banks and insurance right now, a lot of with automotive. And yeah, we do most of our work on JVM based language like Java and of course, and Kotlin. And my talk was about one of the frameworks that we use for one of our projects for one of our customers, and we wanted to share that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Very interesting. Your talk was about Micronaut in production.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting. So, what actually is what is Micronaut actually?
Yeah, well, Micronaut is like a so-called micro framework. But I don't know if that fits very well about because a micro framework is normally like a small framework with a small set of features. But Micronaut offers quite a lot of features, in my opinion, when you compare it to other micro frameworks, like I don't know, maybe HTTP4J or small ones. But Micronaut has a lot of features for integration with other systems and all the stuff. The thing that Micronaut does differently, maybe comparison to Spring Boot, which is Spring Boot is maybe the best known framework in the Java community. The difference is that Micronaut does a lot of the dependency resolution, like the beans and all the stuff on compile time and build time instead of runtime, like Spring. Spring uses heavily dynamic proxies or reflection to do all the magic, so to say. And Micronaut does that at compile time. And that results in faster startup times because, well, the application is already compiled with all dependency it needs. It just kind of start. It doesn't need to resolve stuff on the at startup time and runtime, and also it leads to normally to lower memory consumption because you don't need a lot of metadata stored in proxies or on other classes. So yeah, that's a different stuff that Micronaut does compared to Spring Boot, and that's why we wanted also to give it a try, and not only as a hello world stuff, but really on production with our customer.
Yeah, I think there's a kind of confusion about the micro frameworks. So many people ask me what's actually the difference. So you mentioned Spring Boot, this very popular framework, especially in Europe, I guess. But then we have a lot of the other microservice frameworks like Helidon or there is MicroProfile, of course. And do you think it's Micronaut is a kind of like lightweight MicroProfile framework, or is this completely different?
Well, I think it's they are similar in so many stuff, but I think from all the micro frameworks ecosystems, maybe Micronaut and now Quarkus, they are also getting a lot of traction right now in the community. They are similar in some features, like Quarkus and Micronaut. They do all the dependency resolution and build time. That's very like a very good characteristic of these frameworks. So, and I think MicroProfile is a little bit, it's also very lightweight, but it still relies a lot in runtime information to run. I mean, this is that classical approach still. Yeah.
Okay. And when we go a step back, even then, many people ask the question, really, yeah, why is it actually so important to have a lower memory footprint and much higher startup time? So why is this not possible to develop a microservice with my common Java architecture?
Yeah, well, I think that is important. It's not just to show off, like, my framework is starting faster than yours or something. It's very important on production. For instance, in our case, we use Kubernetes heavily for production, and we have a cluster that is shared by many other applications. So we have limited resources that we have to share with other services that are running there. So and also that means you don't have like much CPU or much memory as you normally have maybe on your local machine. So that is extremely important that your service is very optimized for that kind of runtime, like the cloud native runtime, so to say. So it's very nice to see that in our case, for instance, in our application, that our Micronaut service started just in 7 or 8 seconds compared to other Spring Boot applications that we also have. That way they took about 30 or 40 seconds. So that's a order of magnitude difference, and that has a lot of impact on production. Also, the memory usage is much lower in Micronaut, which means, well, you can use your resources better on production.
Yeah. Okay. Understand. Yeah, and you or most talks are mostly about yeah, how to develop with these frameworks. But in your talk, you really covered the entire yeah, production pipeline from coding till going live, really.
Yep.
And this is very interesting. So what would you say that is most important, yeah, during the testing and go live process?
Yeah, well, for us was we want also to. I mean, it was a production system. We wanted to be sure that it worked. We did, of course, testing before going on production and all that stuff. We were really surprised that the framework worked as advertised, so to say. And also, what was very important for us was also the response of the Micronaut team. We found a couple of bugs. That is normal in every framework. You find bugs, you file the bugs on GitHub or on the issue tracker they have, and the response was very, very fast and very communicative, very, very helpful. That was a very big plus for us because they helped us a lot there. I think that was one of the most positive aspects of working with Micronaut. I mean, the Spring Boot team also do that kind of stuff, but the Spring Boot is a more mature framework. The team is, of course, bigger. You expect that kind of support. We weren't sure with Micronaut how they would react, and that was also very, very positive.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. For me, or many people ask me, yeah, is microservices the right approach for me? And maybe you hear this all the time, the question of your clients. So what would you say, is this approach, microservices with a micro framework, the best approach for almost every modern Java project, or is this not really suited for smaller projects? So which size should the project be? Or yeah, what would you say?
Well, it's a very difficult question. I mean, like always, it depends a lot on the project, on the context. I think microservices are very helpful when you have they solve normally a very an organizational problem. Like when you have a lot of people involved, like their development team is really, I don't know, 30 people, 30 people.
Mm-hmm.
Then when 40 people work on a single service, it may be, well, overwhelming. The overhead is very much. Then you start to separate these people on specific domains, and then you start doing microservices, and then it helps a lot. Of course, microservices are not the solution for everything. Sometimes it is better for small teams or for applications that are not that complex to just do the classic monolith that works perfectly well. And then you don't have the problem that you have with microservices, because people, when they think in microservices, they think only in the solutions, but they don't see the problems. Like you have now distributed transactions, you have now distribution tracing, observability is a problem, monitoring, all that stuff. You don't see it at the beginning, and it's very hard to manage that kind of stuff. In a monolith, you don't have that problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, so this stuff is overlooked a lot of the times.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any tips for beginners who wants to start with Micronaut? What's important to know? Are there good resources to get started?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, the best thing is, well, just try to experiment a little bit with the framework, download the framework, try to experiment. A good stuff that Micronaut has is also the possibility to migrate a Spring Boot application into Micronaut with just very small changes. The Micronaut framework understands a lot of the Spring Boot aspects, like beans, like factories and all that stuff. So with small changes, you can maybe do a migration and just to see if there are any improvements there. That's also a possibility. The good aspect from Micronaut is the programming model is very similar to Spring Boot. Like you have controllers, you have services, you have factories, you have repositories. So it does not seem like a very strange framework or a very strange paradigm. It's very, very similar. So I think if you are used to program with Spring Boot, the step to or the change to Micronaut is very, very simple. You have to understand it works a little bit different on the background. And I think a good resource to do that was the Micronaut documentation. Of course, there are a lot of couple of conference talks also on YouTube that you can find from the Micronaut team or the Micronaut creators to help you understand how the frameworks work. So that's always worth a look. I recommend to do that, and of course try the framework, experiment with the framework. Yeah,
great. And people who are interested in starting with Micronaut, I guess they can contact you. Do you offer trainings or consulting only?
We don't. Well, at the moment we don't offer trainings. I mean, officially not. We do consulting on frameworks we use, like, well, Spring Boot we use it a lot, and now Micronaut. Yes, we do consulting, and I'm very happy to help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you, Carlos. It was really great to have you at JCON and for this interview. Yeah, and everybody who wants to know to learn more about Micronaut can now watch our video. It's now online at the talk with Carlos. Yeah, and if you liked our video, then please subscribe our channel. And thank you for your time. I appreciate. See you soon. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks.